How are we going, everyone? Just venturing out into the garden since I haven't been around here for a while. Travelling around and not doing a lot of gardening, in fact. And now these trees here, I haven't really done anything with these for a few weeks, if not months. And we're standing next to a mandarin tree here. See all the new growth on it? How good is that? All the lime growth. So I thought let's cover a few citrus tips today because they're the most common questions I get on emails and on radio. And I seem to be repeating myself for some reason, but let's just do it again and hopefully you all watch it and we all learn something more. Even I can learn something. Well, I always learn something, and not even I can. I always learn, and you never stop learning in the garden, folks. Doesn't matter what age you are, how long you've been gardening, there's always something to learn from someone. Now, what I'm doing here is uncurling these leaves, the top leaves, the new growth leaves. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's got a squiggly line in there, and that's what we call citrus leaf miner. I know we've covered this topic before, but it's one that keeps reoccurring on our poor citrus trees, folks. And I'm talking about the citrus leaf miner, and what it does, it leaves a squiggly line on the leaf, and when it does that, it curls up. Now, citrus leaf miner, the larvae, not the fly or wasp, it lays its egg on the leaf, and then the larvae burrows inside and trails through the leaf, leaving a squiggly line, which looks like a snail trail, like the saliva or the slag from a snail as it travels across. It loves the new growth. It goes straight onto the new growth. And this tree, even though it's so cold, and today's cold. I mean, I'm rugged up and all that, so it only got up to about 14 degrees here, and that's cold for this little insect. It thrives in 20+ degree temperatures, but look, it's acclimatized to the cooler regions of Australia. Now, I'm down southwest, for those of you who don't know where I am, in Victoria, southwest between Geelong and Ballarat, and it's bloody cold, so it's about 4 degrees on average cooler than Melbourne, and a lot colder than what it is far north of Australia. Now, that is not a new growth that you want to see on your tree. So they're the new leaves that I've got coming up on here. Not all of them, just a couple. See here on this part here, so just where I am there, 3 good leaves, or 2 good leaves, and 1 bad one there. And that one there has got the citrus leaf miner. If you haven't got a lot of leaves that have been affected, sure enough, you can go around and pick the leaves off, but I bet that if you see 1 leaf, you're going to see a lot of leaves. I haven't got any products here to show you or talk about as far as promoting them, getting you to buy them. It's not about that, it's about looking after your tree. You can dust it with ash, you can dust it with all sorts of powders on it as a preventative. You could also use olive oil and soap as a mixture, so it's a tablespoon of each in a litre of water, and spray it on as a shield, or you can use our CGWS, which leaves a white film. Ideally, that's the one that I'd go for. The only thing about the CGWS is it leaves a white film on it, and that's your indicator that tells you that the tree's been protected. It'll stop all sorts of pests getting onto your tree, not so much the diseases, but the pests. So if you prune it, so pruning the tree will encourage new growth. New growth will attract the insect again. Normally in the warmer days of the year, sort of spring, summer, and a little bit of autumn. Now we're right at the tail end of autumn going into it, and the concern is the weather's dropping down, but this insect is still active. So prune, yes, but if you're going to prune, make sure you got something to spray it with to protect it. It's a one-stop product, whether you do the oil, or the CG. It will protect your tree from scale, citrus gall wasp, and citrus leaf miner on there. Now, mandarin, you can take the guts out of it if you like and open it up in the vase, but it'll dry up. Mandarins like to be a little bit close, especially when they're a young tree. They don't want too much airflow because they've got a very small leaf by comparison to the other citrus, and it's very dainty and easily damaged, especially with high winds. Where we are here is the bottom end. Well, not the bottom end, it's the east side of our property, the lower side of our property. So we get better drainage or water flowing through here. And yes, it does drain well. So these trees have been getting ample water consistently, and that's a secret to a good, healthy tree. They do need their water. There always are thirsty plants out there, citrus, because they're shallow rooted and fibrous roots as well. So they don't like wet feet. So if you've got a garden bed that holds a lot of water when you water it, it's not going to be good for the citrus trees long term. Even though they get their hydration, they'll drown in the roots. So plenty of water, constant moisture, but good drainage. And you have to work out how much water you need to give your plant by establishing the type of soil you have. So in my case here, I can't remember the last time I watered them, to be honest with you. It was probably about 3 weeks ago, although we had some rain. Put your finger in the soil if you can to check the moisture level. If it's dry down below, and not just in this sort of depth, you need to go deeper, because that's where the roots are, the main body of the roots are, and you need to know if there's moisture there. So if there is moisture, make sure it's not holding, it's not like slurry. If it's dry, well, try and hydrate it and see how deep it gets in there. Slow watering is better. We're standing here next to the lime tree. Now this one we pruned last time to demonstrate opening it up. And you can see the result here. We've opened up the center. We really haven't got a lot of branching that's crossing over too much. Being a citrus, they really bounce back pretty quick. But we do have more upright growth that we need to get rid of here. These I would cut back to this sort of length, cut them right back down to sort of the base of the structure, or the top of the structure, I should say. And if you look closely, plenty of flowers and plenty of fruit. Now the mandarin hasn't got many, only had about 3 or 4 fruit on it, still being a small tree, but the limes are really doing well where we live out here, folks. This doesn't get affected as much as the other trees do, like the lemons, sorry, I was going to say leaf miner, the lemons, the oranges and the mandarins. This doesn't get it as bad, but it still does get affected. We have got 1 or 2 leaves appearing here, because they're more robust for some reason. I don't think they fancy it as much, but here you go. There's leaf miner there again, if you haven't seen it before. That's exactly what it looks like when it causes the damage or trails through the actual leaf. So it burrows through there, and that silvering is basically the leaf skin, the upper outer skin separated from the green part inside, which causes that sort of silvering line effect to appear there. Now, if you've got lumps on your branches, well, that's called citrus gall wasp. The insects inside, they're living in there, they're growing, and they're living off the sap flow of the tree. It does reduce the amount of sap flowing through, it does stress the tree a little bit. If you've got a neighbour who's got a citrus tree that's riddled with citrus gall wasp, those lumps on the branches, and you're trying to actively control it on your tree, you're going to be hard pressed to get rid of it completely for its entire life. You will be able to get control over it, but getting rid of it completely, unless you get involved with your neighbour, meaning helping them, advising them how to prune their tree, or telling them that the fact that they've got citrus gall wasp on their tree, they need to remove it because it's constantly infesting your tree and other neighbouring trees. You're going to be having a lot of problems controlling it on your tree. But for your case, and if you have got a great neighbour and they're happy to do the same thing, you don't have to cut off all the lumps. Now, I haven't got any citrus gall wasp on my trees here, not that I know of. I think it's a little bit too cold for them yet, but let's have a closer look. No, nothing on the new branches. They're swelling really. I've had a look at this one already, but there isn't any. So if I had it on here, the new ones are the ones that I would remove. So this branch here, for example, being a young sapling, soft wood on it, this is what they're attracted to, not so much the old wood. They'll burrow into this and it'll start to swell out. These are the branches you would cut off because it's still active. Active meaning if the gall is actively growing, you will see no holes on the gall, the lump itself. But if the gall has been emptied, meaning it's discarded, or the insects have matured and they've emerged, looking closely on the lump itself, you may see 1, 2 or more holes. That's where they've emerged from. That's your indicator to tell you there's nothing there. So cutting that piece of branch off where that particular gall is a waste of time. You don't need to cut it off. You need to cut off the young ones up the top, get rid of your citrus leaf miner, and then spray your tree as a preventative, CGWS. That's it. Now, feeding them, well, they're big eaters, mate. They love to eat. They love to be fed regularly. So you can do it on a monthly basis, small amounts. The best combo, folks, and I kid you not, and I'm going to say this with the 100%, looking for the real power words here, folks, confidence that this stuff really works for citrus trees. See, Superfood and Black Grit. Yeah, they're my products, they're our products, we stand by them, but when it comes to citrus trees, I found that combo of those two to be the most effective, the most productive and proactive way for the trees to grow and be able to, produce the fruit that you want and stay strong and healthy. And you will get a lot of flowers and fruit. So don't be shocked when your tree all of a sudden jumps and bursts into flowers like this has here and then is covered in fruit. Now the mandarin hasn't kicked in as far as by comparison to this, but the others have. Let's go and have a look at the orange. Have a look at it. It's covered in flowers and plenty of fruit. And they're only a couple of years old in the ground here, folks. So we've got lots of oranges developing all over the place here. They're hanging almost like grapes, you can say. There's plenty there. Now, I did start telling you about feeding them, and I told you the two products that I use, or fertilizers, which are ours, but how often should you do it is the question. Now, I recommend generally, if you're not one to be so actively feeding your garden, at least every season. So every 3 months, give your trees a light feed and a bigger feed, I suppose, as they're ripening near the end of winter, early springtime. That's with the same products. Or if you're one to be out there more often than not and happy to feed on a more regular basis, reduce the amount of fertilizer. For example, a tree of this size, 3 handfuls, 2-3 handfuls of superfood and a handful of black grit is what it needs every 3 months. But you can bring that down to about a handful and half a handful. So a handful of superfood, half a handful of black grit every month. Very, very lightly. So we're talking a small amount. So a handful of black grit is about 70 grams and a handful of superfood is about 30 grams, I think, 40 grams. Depends on the size of your hand. So normally a tree like that will take about 70 to 100 grams every 3 months. Go half strength and you can feed it on a more regular basis and your tree will thank you forever. Have a look at the grapes. And I'm talking about grapefruit. And this tree's just kicked into gear as well. All the new growth has come on and we've got lots of little fruit developing all over it here. It's covered with flowers on this side as well. No doubt they're all going to set and we're going to have grapes hanging down to the ground. But again, if I have a close look here, we've got a little bit of leaf miner developing on it again. So CLM is the problem we have here, citrus leaf miner. It's occurring on all of them, not all of them, some of them I should say, but on the top parts of the plant. So lots of new growth because the trees are healthy. Yes, a little bit of citrus leaf miner, no citrus gall wasp, lots of flowers and fruit. Check out your citrus trees, see what they need, give them a light prune. Last thing on pruning, don't prune the trees too hard all at once. You can prune on a regular basis. It's a lot safer for the tree, less reaction happening. It's a broken record, me here telling you all about that, but I need to reinforce that because I've seen photos coming in with a beautiful big tree and it's been cut down sort of to shoulder height with only 3 or 4 branches coming out, and then they burst out and turn into a huge upright growth shrub and very, very little, if any, flowers at all. That's the reaction the citrus tree will do to your garden or to your pruning, I should say. So prune less over more often, every month if you like to, or every second month, a little bit of a prune. Like I've got to do with that lime tree, 3 or 4 branches cut off, that's it. Or remove a branch that's damaged or diseased and affecting the rest of the tree. Check out our website, vasilisgarden.com. If you've got any more problems with your citrus trees, well, you can check out our YouTube channel. We've got plenty there, or you can send us an email as well. But otherwise, have a lovely day and don't forget to redeem your reward points because we're moving over to a new platform very soon. From me, Vasili, Maresi.